I don't have much time, so I'll make this quick. If you've ever seen a USB drive lying in the street, glittering under a street lamp or wedged into a sidewalk crack, leave it. Pretend you never saw it. Don't even touch it with the edge of your shoe, because once you do, once you plug it in, you can't undo what follows. I'm saying this while the thing still sits in front of me, glowing faintly on my desk. My blinds are shut, every light in my apartment is off, and yet I swear the drive has its own pulse, like a tiny red heart beating in the dark. My laptop fan whirs, the screen flickers, and there it is. Folders that weren't there a moment ago. Files that shouldn't exist. Faces caught in grainy frames staring straight into the camera as if they know I'm watching. I can't close them. I've tried. Every time I drag the folder to the trash, it reappears. Every time I eject the drive, it vanishes from the port, only to click back into place the second I turn around. The sound is soft, metallic, but it makes my stomach twist like it's right inside my skull. I thought about pulling the plug on the entire machine, but that doesn't matter either. When I came back from the kitchen earlier, my screen was already awake, displaying a video of me, sitting here in this very chair, typing this exact warning. And behind me, just over my shoulder, was something I refused to describe. If I put it into words, if I let its shape live in your mind the way it lives in mine, maybe it'll find you too. So instead, I'm leaving this here as a kind of last resort, a record, maybe a confession, because I don't think I'll be able to for much longer. My phone keeps buzzing with numbers I don't recognize. Shadows are collecting at the edges of my vision, sharper every time I blink. The USB glows brighter the closer it gets to midnight, like it's feeding on the dark. And if you're watching this or reading it or whatever format it's taken by the time it reaches you, just remember, this isn't entertainment. This isn't some creepypasta to kill time before bed. It's a warning, because if I disappear after this upload, if the line goes silent and my words cut off mid-sentence, then you'll know exactly why. When I rewind to the day this all started, it almost feels insulting how ordinary it was. A gray afternoon, the kind where the sky looks like a blank sheet of paper someone smudged with dirty fingers. I was walking back from a coffee shop, headphones in, scrolling through messages I didn't care about. Just another forgettable day. That's when I saw it. At first, I didn't even stop. The little black rectangle was lying on the sidewalk, wedged near a storm drain. Scuffed plastic, metal end dull and scratched. A USB drive, nothing special, right? People drop things all the time. I stepped over it, but something made me look again. Maybe curiosity, maybe boredom, maybe the sick little impulse we all get to poke at something we know we shouldn't. I bent down, picked it up. It was colder than I expected. Heavier, too. The casing had no logo, no stickers, not even a scrawl of Sharpie. Just blank. Smooth. Silent. I remember smirking to myself. Who even uses USBs anymore? Everything's in the cloud. Everything's streamed. The only people still carrying these things around are IT guys and paranoid uncles. Still, I slipped it into my pocket. Not because I needed it, because the thought hit me, what if there's something weird on it? Homework? Secret photos? Old memes? I guess I figured the worst it could have was someone's embarrassing fanfiction. By the time I got home, I'd almost forgotten about it. My apartment looked the way it always did. Messy desk, half-empty ramen cup on the counter, blinds drawn halfway. My laptop sat waiting, screen black but humming faintly like it was half asleep. I tossed the USB on the table and went about my evening, telling myself I wasn't even going to bother. But every time I walked past it, my eyes snagged, like it was waiting, like it wanted me to look. I even laughed at myself for thinking that. "It's a piece of plastic," I muttered, shoving some dishes into the sink. "It doesn't want anything." Still, I didn't throw it out. Later that night, after the city outside had gone quiet, I found myself sitting at my desk with the drive between my fingers. It felt colder now, even though it had been sitting in my apartment for hours. My thumb hovered over the laptop's port. I hesitated. Some small, rational part of me whispered that it wasn't worth it, that people put viruses on these things, that it could fry my hard drive or worse. But the other part, the restless, bored, reckless part, wanted to know, wanted to see what secrets a stranger might have left behind. And in the end, curiosity always wins, doesn't it? I pushed the drive in. It clicked softly, too loud in the silence of my room. The laptop screen flared awake, the cursor blinking like an expectant eye. For a long moment, nothing happened. Just the faint whir of the fan and the glow of the screen. I leaned back, half disappointed. Maybe it was empty after all. Maybe this was nothing but junk. But even then, before anything strange appeared, I couldn't shake the feeling that by plugging it in, I'd already made a mistake. At first, it was underwhelming. My laptop registered the USB. The little icon popped up, and a folder appeared on the desktop with the generic label USB Drive E. I clicked on it, expecting a handful of files or maybe nothing at all. Empty. Just one blank window staring back at me. I sighed, shaking my head at myself. I'd built this thing up in my mind, imagined some lost treasure trove of data, and for what? A useless chunk of plastic. But then my screen flickered. Just once, a subtle stutter, like the cursor had lagged for half a heartbeat. And when I glanced back at the folder, there it was, a new subfolder, labeled simply Open Anniversary. I froze. The thing hadn't been there before. I know it hadn't. My first instinct was to laugh. Someone's idea of a joke, maybe a prank left behind for the unlucky finder. My second instinct was to ignore it. Eject the drive, call it a night. Instead, I double-clicked. Inside were 3 files, log1.txt, audio1.mp3, and clip1.avi. I hesitated again, finger hovering over the trackpad. The rational part of my brain piped up. Don't open strange files. Don't run weird programs off unmarked drives. But the other part, the same one that had convinced me to pick the thing up in the first place, whispered louder, "What if it's interesting?" I clicked on log1.txt. The file opened in a plain notepad window. The text was brief, almost journal-like. Day 1. I think someone is following me. I hear them at night, footsteps outside the window. The USB is the only way to keep track. If I document it here, maybe I can prove I'm not crazy. I frowned. Maybe it was part of some writing project? An abandoned ARG? Still, something about the clipped, desperate tone unsettled me. I closed the text file and clicked on audio1.mp3. A faint hiss of static filled my speakers, followed by ragged breathing. For nearly a minute, that's all it was. Inhale, exhale, shaky and uneven. Then, just before the clip ended, a whisper. Too soft to make out the words, but I swear it said my name. I pulled my headphones off and stared at the screen, heart thudding. That was impossible. It had to be. There was no way some stranger's audio file would know who I was. Shaking it off, I clicked the final file, clip1.avi. The video was grainy, time-stamped with a date from 2 weeks ago. It showed a dark room, camera pointed at a single window. Nothing happened for the first 20 seconds. Then, slowly, the blinds shifted. Not like they were caught in a breeze, more deliberate. Like someone was standing just outside, pulling them aside. The clip cut abruptly to black. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the blank media player window. My apartment was silent, but suddenly every shadow looked darker, every creak louder. I needed to tell someone, so I opened Discord and messaged my friend, Alex. Me. Dude, you won't believe what I just found. Alex. At 1 a.m.? What now? Me. Random USB on the street. It's got these files, logs, creepy videos. Alex. Bro, don't mess with that. That's literally how every horror movie starts. Me. Yeah, but it's probably just some ARG thing. Alex. Or a keylogger. Or a stalker. Just delete it. I typed back a half-joking reply, but my fingers shook on the keys. Alex wasn't wrong. This was the kind of thing you heard about on forums. People finding weird tech, plugging it in, never being the same again. But curiosity had already sunk its claws into me. As we talked, another folder appeared on the drive. This one was called Donderserpen. The name alone made me want to click. It was a dare, a warning, a trap all at once. My pulse quickened. Me. A new folder just popped up. Alex. Don't. Seriously. Just unplug it. Me. What if it's the good stuff? Alex. Or what if it's the last thing you ever see? I hovered the cursor over the folder, torn between reason and obsession. Finally, I whispered to myself, just one more file, and I double-clicked. Inside the _open folder, dozens of files blinked into existence all at once, as if the act of opening it had given the drive permission to reveal its true contents. My screen flooded with text documents, video clips, audio recordings, and image files. Their names were strings of numbers, jumbled letters, broken characters, like someone had slammed their fist on the keyboard to name them. I picked one at random, a text file near the top. Day 4 is closer now. Every night I wake up at 3:33. I hear the static. I hear it breathing. It's learning my name. Another file. Day 7. The drive isn't just recording anymore. It's showing me things. Places I've never been. Faces I don't recognize. But sometimes they're familiar. Too familiar. The words were frantic, typed in bursts with no punctuation. It read less like a journal and more like a transmission sent in panic. I slammed the window closed, but curiosity pushed me to open one of the video files. The footage was shaky, as if filmed from a handheld camera. It showed a row of houses, suburban, generic, shot from across the street at night. The camera zoomed in on one house in particular. A light flicked on in the upstairs window. For a second, I thought I saw a figure moving behind the curtains. Then the video cut to static. I clicked another. This time it was a playground. Empty. The camera panned slowly across rusted swings, a merry-go-round, an old slide. Just before the clip ended, the swing nearest the lens shifted, creaking faintly as though pushed by invisible hands. My skin prickled. These weren't just random creepy clips. They felt too intentional, too focused. I was about to shut the whole thing down when I noticed a new file had appeared at the bottom of the list. This name was today's date. No, not just today's date. Today's date followed by the initials of my neighborhood. Heart hammering, I clicked it. The video opened on a street corner. My street corner. The same cracked pavement. The same flickering lamppost I passed every day. The camera swiveled and my apartment building filled the frame. I froze. For 30 silent seconds, the lens lingered on my window. My exact window. Then the footage ended abruptly. I ripped my headphones off, shoving my chair back so hard it squealed against the floor. My breath came shallow and fast. It wasn't possible. How the hell could a random USB drive have footage of my building? Of me? A Discord ping jolted me. Alex, you still alive over there? Me, dude, it's got video of my apartment. My actual apartment. Alex, no, nope, I told you. That's stalker territory. Call the cops. I'm serious. Me, what am I even supposed to say? Hey officer, I found a haunted flash drive and it knows my address? Alex, at least unplug it. Throw it out the window. I reached toward the drive, ready to yank it out. But before I touched it, my speakers hissed to life. A low, crackling static, followed by something underneath. A whisper, broken and distorted, crawling out of the audio like it was being dragged across glass. My name! I recoiled. It wasn't just a whisper. It was my voice saying it. Every hair on my body stood on end. I slammed the laptop shut, but the whisper continued for a few more seconds before dying out. The silence that followed was worse, thick and heavy, like the air itself was waiting. I stared at the closed laptop, my pulse drumming in my ears. And then, from the corner of my eye, I noticed something else. Another folder had appeared on the desktop, outside of the USB. Not on the drive, but on my actual computer. Its name, Tomorrow. I forced myself to lift the lid again. My desktop glowed faintly, the folder pulsing like it was alive. Inside was a single video file, time-stamped for midnight the following day. I didn't open it. Not yet. But I knew then that whatever this thing was, it wasn't just living on the USB anymore. It had moved in, and it was planning ahead. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. Every time I shut my eyes, I pictured the folder labeled Tomorrow, pulsing faintly on my desktop like some kind of countdown I wasn't supposed to ignore. My apartment was suffocatingly quiet, yet I kept catching phantom sounds. The faint hiss of static when the laptop was closed, the soft click of something metallic slipping into place. I told myself it was just nerves. I told myself I was imagining it. But when dawn broke, pale light seeping through the blinds, the drive was still there, plugged in, humming softly like it had roots in the machine. Pulled it out. Or at least I tried to. The second my fingers touched the casing, a shock snapped through me, sharp enough to make me curse aloud. I jerked my hand back, staring. My fingertips tingled. The USB sat perfectly still, as if it hadn't moved at all. I grabbed the edge again, gritting my teeth, and yanked. This time it came free with a reluctant pop. I tossed it across the desk, heart hammering. For a moment, relief flooded me. Maybe that was it. Maybe I'd finally cut the cord. Then I heard it. Click. The sound of a USB sliding into a port. I turned slowly. My laptop's indicator light was blinking. The drive was back in place, glowing faintly red. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just dealing with corrupted files or some elaborate prank. This wasn't supposed to be possible. I shut the laptop and went to the kitchen, pacing in tight circles. My phone buzzed on the counter, an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but some instinct made me swipe it open. The call connected to silence. Then, faintly, the same static I'd heard the night before, and beneath it, ragged breathing. "Who is this?" My voice cracked. No answer, just a whisper fragmented through the static. "Behind you!" I spun, phone clattering to the floor. My kitchen was empty. The only sound was the faint hum of the fridge. But when I bent to pick the phone up, the call had ended. My call log was blank. No record of it. I told myself I was done. No more files. No more folders. But avoidance only made the thing bolder. That evening, my neighbor from across the hall knocked on my door. An older guy, beard streaked with gray, always polite in passing. "You okay in there?" he asked, brow furrowed. "Heard some noises last night, like voices." My stomach dropped. "Voices? Yeah, thought you had company. But then I saw..." He hesitated, glancing toward my window. "Never mind," I pressed. "You saw what?" He shook his head. "Probably nothing. Just someone standing outside your window. Figured it was a friend of yours." I forced a laugh, but it sounded brittle even to me. "Yeah, a friend." That night, I sat at my desk, staring at the screen. The folder tomorrow still waited. The timestamp had updated. It now read 12 a.m. Tonight. I couldn't stop myself. At 11:59, I hovered the cursor over the file. When the clock struck midnight, I clicked. The video filled the screen. It was me, sitting at my desk, laptop open, face pale and drawn. My hands hovered over the keyboard exactly as they were in that moment. I leaned closer, trying to process. Then the camera view widened, as though whoever was filming had stepped backward. And there, just behind me, stood a shadow. It wasn't shaped like a person. Too tall, too thin, edges fraying like it couldn't quite hold itself together. Its head tilted unnaturally far to one side. Even though the video had no sound, I swore I could hear it breathing. I spun in my chair, heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. Nothing. Empty air. When I turned back to the screen, the shadow was still there. In the video, looming closer to the version of me sitting frozen at the desk. I slammed the laptop shut. The darkness of my apartment pressed in on me, heavier than before. And then, from the silence, came a whisper. Not from the computer this time, from the far corner of the room. "Still watching." I didn't look, couldn't. I just sat frozen, every muscle trembling, while the USB drive glowed brighter on the desk, casting faint red light across my shaking hands. That was when I knew this thing wasn't trapped in the files anymore. It was here. By the time the sun rose again, I was barely holding myself together. My reflection in the bathroom mirror looked like a stranger. Bloodshot eyes, hollow cheeks, a jittery twitch in every muscle. I kept telling myself it was sleep deprivation, paranoia, maybe even a breakdown. But then I'd hear the soft click of the USB sliding into its port again, always when I wasn't looking, and I knew this was real. That folder with tomorrow's date had become my obsession. Every night at midnight, it updated. Every night, I opened it because I couldn't stop myself. And every night, the videos crept closer to me. The first showed my apartment building. The next, my window. Then me at my desk. Then the shadow standing behind me. What would tonight bring? All day, I tried to resist. I unplugged the laptop, locked it in the closet, even left the apartment to walk aimlessly through crowded streets. But the whole time I felt it, that weight pressing against my back, like someone's gaze boring through me. People brushed past me on the sidewalk, glanced over their shoulders, stared at me just a little too long. I couldn't tell if they were strangers or if the thing inside the USB was bleeding into them too. When I came home that evening, the laptop was already waiting on my desk, lid open, screen glowing. The USB was in place, pulsing softly, and the folder had updated. Today, the timestamp, 12 a.m. I sat there for hours, staring at the clock, dread swelling inside me like a tide I couldn't hold back. Alex pinged me on Discord again, his messages popping up like frantic knocks at the door. Alex, you're scaring me, man. Just stop. Break it. Smash the damn thing. Me, it won't let me. Alex, what do you mean it won't let you? Me, every time I throw it away, it comes back. Every time I close the laptop, it opens again. It knows me, Alex. There was a long pause before his final message. Alex, then maybe it doesn't want the drive broken. Maybe it wants you. I couldn't reply. When the clock struck midnight, the file unlocked itself. No click from me, no hesitation, it simply opened. The video started like the others. Me at my desk, hunched forward, fear carved into every line of my face. But this time, the camera didn't just watch. It moved. The perspective circled me, stepping closer with every frame, until it stood just behind my shoulder. The shadow loomed in the corner of the screen, bending toward me. And then, for the first time, the video had sound. A low, ragged voice rasped through my speakers. Say it. My skin crawled. Say what? I whispered before I realized I'd answered aloud. The figure on screen leaned closer to my duplicate self, mouth stretching impossibly wide. Its whisper slithered out of the speakers again, louder this time. Say my name. The me in the video trembled, lips moving. No sound came out, but I could read the shape of the word. It was my name. I recoiled, slamming the laptop shut, but the voice didn't stop. It seeped into the air around me, vibrating in the walls, the floor, my bones. Say it. I clapped my hands over my ears, tears stinging my eyes. No! The lights flickered. My phone buzzed with dozens of notifications from unknown numbers. Each message a single word. Say. Something shifted in the corner of my vision. My stomach dropped. I wasn't alone anymore. A figure stood in the doorway of my bedroom. Not solid, not smoke, something in between. Its limbs twitched, glitching in and out of existence, but its head stayed fixed on me, tilted at that same unnatural angle. I backed against the wall, breath ragged. The USB glowed brighter, casting the whole room in its sick red pulse. Say it. The words weren't coming from the speakers anymore. They came from the figure itself, rattling out of its throat like broken glass. I shook my head violently. No, I won't. The shadow twitched, head jerking to the side, mouth gaping wider. Then I'll say it for you. The room plunged into darkness. When the lights flickered back, I was staring at the laptop again, though I hadn't moved. The video was still playing, but now the me on screen was speaking clearly. My name, over and over, louder each time, voice raw with panic. The shadow behind him, behind me, wrapped its elongated hands around his shoulders. I screamed and slammed the laptop shut again, chest heaving. Silence crashed down, but I knew it wouldn't last. I couldn't stay here. The drive wasn't just watching anymore, it was controlling, recording, rewriting, and if I didn't find where it came from, I knew it would finish what it started. I don't remember making the decision to leave my apartment. 1 minute, I was huddled against the wall, laptop clamped shut on the desk, USB glowing like a tiny furnace. The next, I was on the street, hood pulled up, USB stuffed in my pocket like contraband. My legs moved without thought, like something was guiding me. I should have been terrified, but what I felt most was inevitability. If I stayed inside, it would consume me. If I went out, maybe, just maybe, I could learn what it wanted. The files had given me hints. Street corners, blurry landmarks, grainy interiors of abandoned buildings. One address showed up more than once in the metadata. An old office building on the edge of town, long since boarded up, supposedly condemned. I'd driven past it once or twice. That's where I found myself an hour later, standing in front of cracked concrete steps and rotting plywood boards nailed haphazardly across the front door. Faded graffiti clung to the brick walls, most of it angry warnings. Don't plug it in. Keep out. For the first time since this started, I realized maybe I wasn't the only one. I pushed through a gap in the boards and stepped inside. The air was stale, thick with dust and mildew. My flashlight beam cut through the dark, landing on rows of abandoned cubicles. Chairs sat crooked, papers littered the floor, and somewhere deep in the building, a faint hum echoed. The hum pulled me deeper, like a lure. I followed it past empty desks and shattered monitors until I reached a wide room in the back. And that's when I saw them. Rows of old computers lined the walls, their screens flickering with static. On every desk, a USB drive just like mine pulsed faintly, glowing in rhythm like 100 tiny heartbeats. At the center of the room, hunched over one of the machines, sat a figure. At first I thought it was just another mannequin, abandoned like everything else. But then it shifted, its head twitching toward me in a jagged movement. Its face, God, its face was wrong. It was my face, distorted, stretched, glitching in and out of focus, but unmistakably mine. Eyes bloodshot, skin pale, mouth twitching into a grin that was too wide. It stood slowly, arms dangling at unnatural angles. And when it spoke, the voice was a perfect mimic of mine. You brought it back. I staggered back, flashlight trembling. What are you? The thing tilted its head. You, or what's left of you. Every time someone plugs it in, another copy is made. Another reflection. Some stay trapped in the drive. Some don't. I glanced at the rows of glowing USBs. All of these are people? It nodded. The grin stretched further. We're not alone down here. We never were. A whisper rippled through the room, layered voices spilling from every speaker, every machine. My name repeated over and over, a chant that made the walls vibrate. The figure stepped closer. You can join us, or you can run. Either way, it won't matter. Once the drive has your name, it never lets go. I wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at me to bolt out the way I came. But part of me needed to know, needed to see. What happens if I join? My voice cracked. The figure raised a hand. His fingers elongated, glitching, flickering in and out of reality. Then you stop being afraid. You stop being alone. You become part of something endless. The chanting grew louder, USBs pulsing in unison. My chest tightened, and then silence. The figure leaned close, its face almost touching mine. This whisper was soft, intimate. All you have to do is say it. Your name, out loud. I clenched my jaw, shaking. This was it, the choice Alex had warned me about. If I gave it my name, it would own me. If I didn't know what would happen, but I doubted it would be better. The USB in my pocket burned hot, almost searing through the fabric. My laptop files, the videos, the voices, they had all been building to this. I forced myself to step back. No. The grin faltered. For the first time, the figure looked uncertain. I pulled the USB from my pocket and hurled it at the floor. It clattered across the tiles, the glow flickering violently. The entire room convulsed. Screens flashed with static. The chanting turned to screams. The figure staggered, its form glitching wildly. I ran. I tore through the dark hallways, flashlight beam bouncing, screams echoing behind me. The boards at the entrance gave way under my shoulder, splinters raking my skin as I burst into the night air. I didn't stop running until the building was a silhouette in the distance. When I finally collapsed on the curb, lungs burning, I checked my pocket. Empty. I should have felt relief, but all I felt was dread. Because when I got home that night, the USB was waiting on my desk again, glowing faintly as though it had never left. And on my laptop screen, a new folder had already appeared. Next time, I thought I had escaped. I thought leaving the building, leaving the rows of glowing USBs and that thing behind me was the end. But it wasn't. Not by a long shot. Back in my apartment, I tried to convince myself it was over. I unplugged my laptop, shoved the USB into a drawer, even locked it inside a box. For a few hours, the silence was almost comforting. My reflection in the mirror looked slightly less haunted. My hands didn't tremble as much. Then I noticed it, a faint glow leaking from under the drawer. I froze. The USB hadn't been touched, but it pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat, or maybe it was the other way around. My apartment didn't feel like mine anymore. Shadows clung to corners, stretched longer than they should have, shifted when I wasn't looking. I kept hearing faint clicks, soft whispers just beyond comprehension, and every time I blinked, I felt something there watching. The folder on my desktop had returned as well. Not next time anymore. It now read, "You know what's coming." I wanted to throw everything out, burn the laptop, smash the USB. But something inside me stopped. Some part of me knew it wouldn't work. The moment I touched it, even to destroy it, it would be ready. Waiting. Watching. I realized then, with a cold clarity, that the USB wasn't just a device. It was a living record. Predator. It didn't care about logic or distance or barriers. It only needed names. It only needed attention. And now it had mine. I'm leaving this story here, uploaded, posted, written down, whatever reaches you. Because if it disappears, if my connection cuts out mid-sentence, or if I simply vanish one night, you'll know why. And maybe if you're reading this, you're already part of it. Check your downloads. Check your folders. Look carefully at anything unfamiliar on your devices. That faint glow you think is a reflection of your screen, maybe it isn't. That whisper you thought was wind, a neighbor, or your imagination, maybe it's calling your name. I can't tell you exactly what it wants, but I know it likes attention. It likes curiosity. It likes that tiny spark that tells you, just one more click won't hurt. And I know that spark, once lit, is impossible to extinguish. So here's the warning in plain words. Do not pick up USB drives lying on the street. Do not plug in files you don't recognize. And whatever you do, whatever curiosity whispers in your ear, do not, under any circumstances, open a folder named for tomorrow. I've learned the hard way, and if, by some twist of fate, you find one of these drives yourself, remember this: knowledge isn't always power. Sometimes, it's the thing that follows you home, the shadow that stands behind you when you type in the dark, the whisper you can't ignore. Because once it has your name, it never lets go. And now it knows yours.